I remember being in my early 20s and working with people who were probably in their early to mid 40s. And I remember asking them about code that they'd written a couple of years ago, and they didn't know anything about the code they'd written a couple of years ago. And it struck me at the time just like really strange. Like code was my life. How could these people like not know what they'd written a couple of years ago? Well, here this is 7 years ago, and I didn't write the original code either. So Madam Butterfly was what I was searching for. Anyway, so let us do pathogens. And let's see what the results are. So we've got in the new code, this is how you do a comparison between new and old when the code has changed sufficiently that doing this is just not going to be. And similarly search here for pathogen. Okay, so there's one more result on this side than there's on this side. So this is 58 results in 7 files. And this is 59 results in 5 files. So let's see what is what and where is where. It's the old code versus the new code. So we've got pathogen, transmission. Where are these? Well, they're not even here. Oh, here we are. Okay, so in entity internal.h, we have these, we have random pathogen. Where did random pathogen end up? Well, there's no random pathogen. So that, I think, is no longer part of the code. Okay, random pathogen. Let's see if we've got that on this side. It's probably the worst way of doing it, but we can go backwards, I guess. Okay, no, random pathogen's there. That's in universe still. So I think basically most of the original code is there. It just doesn't interface anymore with the metabolism. Did it ever really interface with metabolism? That's the question. Well, let's have a look here. See if it's look. There's nothing in here about metabolism. So I think we have the pathogen code without the metabolism code representative in both sides, which is very good news. And I think basically, aside from the draw stuff, which has been changed, we basically have the original pathogen code coming through. Now, what is the interface for the pathogen code? What? Being ingest pathogen. Let's see if that's still there. I think I saw it down here. Being ingest pathogen. So these are still here. Being immune transmit. Being immune transmit. So these are still there. So the real question is this pathogen code actually being called? And what we can do here is there another use of being immune transmit which would also convey things other than pathogens, or are they all pathogens? They're all pathogens. So being immune transmit is code that we want to see run. So if immunity is on, we've already established that it is, or I think we turned it on anyway. We didn't define, yep, it's on. So what we want to do is see being immune transmit. So return to the printf. Return the bad typing with the printf. Okay, so this is something we want to see actively being run. We would put in breakpoints, but we want the simulation to keep running, basically. We just want stuff on that. So what else? Being acquire pathogen. So being immune transmit is like that, mainly through social. Interesting. And being acquire pathogen is mainly through being acquire pathogen, being acquire pathogen. So this is ingest pathogen. I would say acquire pathogen. Ah, okay. So here we have the high-end pathogen calls. So let's put some debugging in here. And this we will at least see whether or not this pathogen code is being called. So here being acquire pathogen. It's another pathogen being immune seed. I think being immune in it. Okay. Well, while we're at it, why don't we see if this is called too? Okay. Being immune seed. And then being immune in it. I think it's chav rather than scouse. Okay. So let's have a look at these. Being immune in it, being ingest pathogen, immune transmit, we've seen, immune response, and I think that's it. So let's also do being immune response. Okay, let's see whether this code is ever run. It's got to whir a few minutes. Okay, so being immune response is called pretty heavily. Pretty heavily. Oh my goodness. Being immune init for probably all the nodal apes, and then being immune response. Okay, so we see that. Look at that. So the pathogen code's definitely being run. A variety of different calls to the pathogen code is being run. So I think this is pretty well a net win associated with this code being run. We don't need to commit any of this. This is just an investigation. But yeah, so we've certainly seen being immune response being called quite heavily. Then more pathogen acquired, ingested, acquiring. So right, the pathogen code is being run pretty heavily. Now the question is, what does the simulation mean, and how can we put novel and new pathogens into this list? Well, I think there's a list of pathogen types, right? We can go back to this old code here. So these are the types of pathogens. And I think it's got a pathogen soil. So there's nothing that's pathogen soil. I think it's pathogen seed. Shellfish, I would think. There has to be. Okay, let's try it here though. So pathogen transmit is what we want. Let's see it here. Let's turn this off. Let's see it here. Okay. So within social, so actually, the pathogen code that we have in the current Ape SDK is more advanced than the pathogen code that was here. No, same code. Isn't that funny? It didn't find the, maybe there's a comma or something. Anyway, so interesting. So, okay, identical basically pathogen code. What do we got here? Seaweed total. So that's that. Interesting total. I think I added that. That's probably the additional. That's the 59th entry. This one that I added for the total number of pathogens, which I used for some expansion here. Okay, so this is the distinction between my code and Bob Mottram's code. This is going through this. Interesting. Okay, so I think this is a good point to stop. I think I've illustrated pretty comfortably that the pathogen code is still there. It's still being run. And yeah, the next stage is just to explore the actual use of pathogens, which I'll do in the next recording.